not to continue the health assessment group to address the Native Hawaiian issue. However, in the report and in the cover letter that was presented, this is documented. In the Geothermal Public Health Assessment report, we tried to make it clear that this was a deficiency. I felt particularly bad because we had not addressed the Native Hawaiian issue, and as a consequence, once the Adler Group terminated, I set to work with others in trying to come up with a way to set this right. And what you're seeing before you is a culmination of that effort.
You actually anticipated where I was going to go with my next question. One of the study group members, Mr. Patricia, who's in the audience today, in his personal statement, he actually said what you just said, that you didn't talk about the effects of geothermal on Kanaka Maoli until the very end, and that the particular study that we now have is not, that they're not represented at all except for a sentence here or there. Is that how you feel about this?
That's perfectly accurate, yes, sir.
There's also some reference to some concerns by indigenous people who actually faulted the group because of that. Did you get some flashback from Kanakas on this one?
Yes, sir, including several in this room and several other notable Hawaiians have criticized the Adler Group because it was not a balanced group that had representatives of the Native Hawaiian population.
I can imagine. In the report, it talks about Native Hawaiians suffering from unique psychological, behavioral, and emotional health problems as a result of geothermal energy development. I'm guessing that's what's motivating you to be here today, but just based on the limited information you were able to gather as a member of the working group, is that your position, that Native Hawaiians are suffering from a unique set of psychological, behavior, and emotional health problems?
Yes, sir. It's difficult for me as a recent immigrant to Hawaii. It's difficult for me to understand the depth of that, and that's why I think it's important to look at it. My own opinion is if one looks at Hawaiian history, taking away the Hawaiian culture has had a very serious effect on the Hawaiian health.
Well, just to add my point, no one ever took that away from us. It's alive and well, but I appreciate your concern.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate you being here, sir. Thank you.
Commissioners, any further questions? Thank you.
My name is Jim Albertini. I live in Curtistown, P.O. Box 489. I've been a resident there for over 35 years. And I've been deeply involved in the geothermal issue since the beginning stages of the HGPA. And I worked very closely with Palikapu Dedman and others in the Pele Defense Fund. Our farm, Malu Aina, was the hub of the Big Island Rainforest Action Group. And I brought a collected item here today. It's a Time Magazine, Earth Day of 1990, with Hawaii picture of Puna on the cover, Geothermal Moratorium Now. And this was about the arrests of one of the largest civil disobedience actions in the history of Hawaii. I think on a single day up there in the rainforest, we had 2,000 people in nonviolent protest and about 160 people taken into police custody. And 25 years. And the film that was very powerful was called Pele's Appeal, about Pele, and from the Native Hawaiian perspective, that mobilized a lot of people here. And yet, here we are today, 25 years later, talking about the need for a psychological, social study to be done on the effects to Native Hawaiians of drilling into what we all know as, in Hawaiian culture, the deity, Pele, the goddess Pele. So I really urge you to support this study. It's long overdue. I think the Planning Commission could ask the mayor to seek co-funding from OHA, since they're getting what, 30%, and the state, 20%, and the state's getting 50%. So the county shouldn't have to bear the entire cost of it all. Those who are getting royalties from geothermal should share the burden. But I think it's long overdue, and as it's the right thing to do, to begin to really look at the impacts and to respect the host culture, the native people of this place we call home. So I appreciate your aloha on this.
Any questions, commissioners? No, thank you. You may have a seat. Okay, we'll into our public testimony. Some of you have already come up, but if you have something in addition, you will have 3 minutes. Could I have Corey, Arlen, Mr. Albertini, if you have anything further, you have 3 minutes. If not, also Mr. Travis. If not, Laura, Trani?
Travis.
Or Travis. Joy Cash. Mr. Deadman, if you have anything further, you have 3 minutes. If not, Robert, Patricia.
I'm on the list.
I'll get to you. You have to go to these four first. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Hawaii County Planning Commission? You may go first. Your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
So, Corey Harden with Sierra Club Mokuloa Group, and we support the study on psychosocial impacts on Native Hawaiians from geothermal development, and also the Hawaiian Health Study Review Board. I think this is especially important because, as we just talked about, there were no Native Hawaiians in the Adler Geothermal Health Study Group. It's also especially important because of recent events, people being injured by a geothermal release while trapped in their homes during Tropical Storm Iselle. They were being gassed and they couldn't get out. This was closely followed by an election in Puna very shortly after the storm, which drew legal challenges. And there are many in Puna now questioning if their concerns are being duly represented by the folks who got elected there. And what's now going on is there's drilling being planned at PGV 24/7, despite the prohibition on night drilling by the county, while a lava flow is threatening the area. So there's quite a few stressors added to just the general background. Today's Native Hawaiians are descendants of the first people who managed to find these islands, made their home here, and took care of the land for centuries with great respect and wisdom. In modern times, with our modern approaches, that's brought us a lot of benefits, but we're also faced with climate change, oceans clogged with plastic, Superfund sites, and a lot of other consequences of our attitude toward the land. So we should find out how the modern approach to the land, as far as geothermal projects, how that is affecting Native Hawaiians who have a heritage of a very different approach to the land, means the right thing to do, and may also be the legally necessary thing to do. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you.
My name is Laura Travis, and I live in Puna and lived there for 4.5 years. I was a member of the mayor of Hawaii's Geothermal Public Health Assessment Working Group. In the working group, the other members and I tried to decide how best to determine if there were health effects from geothermal development. We reviewed many studies and examined decades of geothermal development records. Because of this effort, we recommended a study to examine the health effects, particularly in Lower Puna. You recently approved the funding for that study. Many of us on the study group were disappointed in only one aspect of our effort, and that was the studies we recommended did not examine the impact on Native Hawaiians. Because of his concern about the issue, my husband worked with others to set this right. They found that Dr. Edelstein had expertise examining such issues and that he had experience in Hawaii. My husband and those that worked with him asked Dr. Edelstein to outline a proposal that could be presented to the Windward Planning Commission. I'd strongly support you, the commissioners, funding this effort. Too often in working groups in county and state government, we ignore the challenges faced by Native Hawaiians or we deal with them as an afterthought. I ask today that you reverse this and approve this study. I think the study can serve as a pivot for examining Native Hawaiian issues as they relate to future planning and development on this island. Thank you for listening.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you.
My name is Joy Cash. Do you need my address? Is that good?
Yes, the residence.
Oh, it's 272 Noelani Loop, Hilo, Hawaii. I'm one of those people that came to the geothermal issue by way of my friend Noreen Robbins, who holds a PhD in geology. And when I asked her about, she's familiar, she's traveled all over the world, has 35 years field experience with geology. And when I asked her about the geothermal, she said, I'll get back to you. And she's very familiar with Africa and Polynesia, including Hawaii. She says, she said, you have a very permeable geology there. And geothermal is a big no, no, no. And so I started to get involved, and I thought the more I learned. And my background myself is in Chinese medicine. So my concern always is with the health and well-being of all our, what does that mean? I have 2 minutes more? Okay. With the health and well-being of all our citizens here. And if I really would encourage all of you to include all of our citizens in our considerations, and to not do so is really marginalizing our Hawaiian host. And so this is what I came today. And my training in Chinese medicine tells me that to live under the stress of induced seismology from the drilling of the geothermal and the chemical impacts to the community, and also the stress of knowing there were deep-held, long-held, before any of us came here, religious beliefs. We must, I believe in the 21st century, we've come to a more inclusive community. And that's, I love being here because it's, it's just not one people. It's all the peoples come here to live together. So I encourage you to spend the money or find some extra money somewhere else to include here for this. We can't marginalize Hawaiians. No more. No more. That's in the past. That's in the 18th century thinking in my mind. So thank you for listening.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you.
Aloha Planner Commissioners. My name is Robert Patricia. I live at 13430 Pohoiki Road in Puna. I was also a member of the Adler Health Study Group for the mayor, and So we didn't have any Hawaiians on the commission, and that bothered me, particularly after some of the Hawaiians came to the group at one of our hearings and asked us about that. And that's when we started to discuss it in detail. And I was disappointed that we weren't able to rectify that at that point. The county claims adjuster, I think, seems to be saying that there's no evidence of harm to Native Hawaiian culture or psychology, therefore that the county shouldn't fund the study. And I would think that Punapono, particularly after the Hawaiians were excluded from the House study group, that we found that pretty disturbing, actually, and disappointing, really. We think that there, if you alter the beliefs and theology of a people, that there probably are going to be, most certainly going to be some type of psychological and health impacts to that. We should look at it. If we're going to look at all of the other issues, I don't think that we should push aside the health concerns of Native Hawaiian practitioners or cultural beliefs so easily as the claims adjuster appears to have done in this particular case. We have studies for birds, bees, fish, reefs, but no study for Native Hawaiian impacts from altering their belief system and their culture. I don't think after all of the years and all the things that have happened that it's asking too much for that. In fact, I think it would be discriminatory to not fund this study. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, I had a question. I don't want to mispronounce your name because that happens to me often. Patricia?
Patricia is okay.
That's okay. I noticed from your personal statement from the study group that you mentioned that you had written up a recommendation that was, for the most part, ignored.
Yeah, it was voted down. I could only get one, or I think Tom and Laura were probably, maybe one other person supported that, but I was outvoted on the recommendation.
What was your recommendation?
That we do the study for the culture.
You undertake a study similar to what's proposed before us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Commissioner? Thank you. Ronald Fujoshi, if you have anything further, you have 3 minutes. If not, Tom, Lubin.
I'm Tom Travis again, live at 14256 Papaya Farms Road.
Mr. Travis, you're still on the audio.
Yes, sir. I've had an opportunity to say my say, but I want to clarify one thing that Mr. Patricia said. The group didn't vote against doing the Edelstein study. The group voted against doing the work necessary to get the Edelstein study included as part of the recommendation of the group. And that was a decision made by the group, not based on the virtues and merits of the Edelstein study, but rather based on the desire to finish work, because we've been at it for a long time. Thank you.
Mr. Lubin, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Hawaii County Planning Commission?
I do.
Please state your name and residence.
My name is Thomas E. Lubin, and I'm a resident of New Mexico, but a property owner in Puna.
Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I really, aloha to the Planning Commission, and I appreciate the opportunity to make a statement today in support of the proposed study. I'm an attorney in private practice, and I'm appearing on behalf of myself to offer information to the committee in support of the study. I did represent the Pele Defense Fund in the 1980s and the early 1990s in geothermal-related litigation, including contesting the original geothermal resources permit, which is the background for this effort to get this study funded. I participated in the mediation that resulted in what was then Condition 51, and which created the Geothermal Asset Fund, which is now, the condition is now Condition 49. I appealed the Geothermal Resource Permit granting to the Intermediate Court of Appeals in Hawaii in the case of Medeiros. I am, as I said, representing myself here just to provide information. A little bit of background here, as has been noted, the Pele Defense Fund and the Native Hawaiian community have been trying to get a study of this sort for many decades. I know Dr. Edelstein personally, and I've worked with him assessing psychosocial impacts of adverse events on other Native and minority communities. Specifically, I worked with him on a study of the impact of the loss of irrigation water supply on an Indian reservation in Arizona, how that adversely affected culture, and how those psychosocial impacts on individuals adversely affected not just their physical health, not just their mental health, but their physical health as well. Dr. Edelstein is extremely well qualified, and his book on stressed communities is used in university curricula around the country. I wanted to briefly address the merits of the proposal. It's a community-approved geothermal impact mitigation project as required by the rule, and it was recommended by the Adler report. I think the Mullen and Company adverse recommendation should be rejected by the Planning Commission, and the Commission should fund the study. I note that an insurance claims adjuster is not the appropriate process for recommending this kind of study, and I see that my time is up, so I have a few more comments, but I'd be pleased to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioners, any questions? I have a question, Mr. Lubin. You know, you're very familiar with Dr. Adler.
I'm not familiar with Dr. Adler. I've not worked with Dr. Adler. We had a different mediator at the time, back when we were doing Condition 51 of the GRP.
Okay, I guess just my question is this: if you're familiar with these reports, psychostudy reports, this 200, this amount that's being requested, 293,000, is that about the amount that you would say report?
You know, I won't represent that I have reviewed the budget. I was not involved in drafting the proposal or in constructing the budget for the proposal, and all I can say is Dr. Edelstein has been doing this work for quite some time. He's a university professor. He does this sort of work all around the world, and I have to assume that his budget is reasonable.
Thank you. Anyone else out there that would wish to testify on this? I'll take a motion to close the public testimony.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Call a close to the public testimony. Commissioners, any discussion?
Just briefly, I'm a trial attorney too, so I don't know how that goes exactly. I just wanted to reference the rule that gives us the authority to entertain this request. 12.2, the purpose of this rule is to allow the Windward Planning Commission to authorize payment of money from the Geothermal Asset Fund to claimants whom the commission finds have been adversely impacted by activities authorized or unauthorized by Geothermal Resource Permit number 2. I don't think that there's any question, or that there's no question in my mind at this point, that Kanaka Maoli, Native Hawaiians, have been adversely impacted. I also note that almost a year ago, I went on record as arguing against a meta-analysis of health effects. And what I understood it to be was that there were a lot of published studies about the health effects of impacts of low to moderate exposures of H2S, and that there were a smaller number of studies of those studies, and that what we were authorizing money from the fund to go to is to another study of that study of that study. Mr. Patricia, I apologize if I did it again, he talked about us funding studies of birds and bees, flowers and trees. I'm not sure if that's what he said, but we have put out some money to study a few things. And this isn't only a group that has been adversely impacted. It's clear to me that they have been unrepresented, or at least underrepresented, in the studies that we have before us. So I support this without reservation.
Commissioners, any further discussion? If not, I'll look for the motion.
For the purposes that I've just discussed, including the fact that not only are Kanaka Maoli and Native Hawaiians directly impacted by geothermal development activities permitted or not permitted by Geothermal Resource Permit number 2, and based on our authority under Rule 12, I move that the claim for $2,093,760 be approved and awarded for those purposes and reasons.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Keokalani, seconded by Commissioner Henko. Do I have any discussion on the motion? No, I have one question, Commissioner Keokalani. This also includes a study group, review board, to be established by our commission. In your motion, would you like to include a proposal by the planning department to help put together a board, or how would you like?
Thank you very much for reminding me about that, Mr. Chair. The claim does include a request for our commission to establish a Native Hawaiian Health Study Review Board, and I would amend my initial motion to also include the establishment, and I guess I would need to look to staff on procedures and protocols on how that board would be established and the types and frequency of communication they would have between the board and this commission.
Maybe you could request a plan or a proposal at the next meeting to approve or amend for that group. Would that be possible with that?
It's possible, of course, but again, maybe the focus is really, maybe we can bifurcate this. I mean, first and foremost is the claim, and the claim is, as the motion specified, for $293,760. Maybe there can be a second motion, if your council concurs, that will probably direct the department to look into establishing the Native Hawaii Health Study Review Board, and try to figure out a process which we can then report to you at a later meeting.
Yeah, I think procedurally that would be the most appropriate way to proceed.
Okay. On the motion, on the initial motion.
Okay, so let me go back to my original motion then, and then I would move based on the statements that I've made here that the claim for 293,760 be approved and awarded.
And my second stand.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Hepulani, second by Commissioner Henkel. Any further discussion on the motion?
No, Mr. Chair, before you ask for the call, can I just take a look quickly at something? One moment.
Just for clarification, Commissioner Helkulani, your motion would then include a rejection of the claim adjuster's recommendation and approval of the study based on award of the funds. Just for
I'm
procedure.
happy to clarify my motion on those grounds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I second.
Ready for the call? Okay, great. Commissioner Helkulani,
Aye.
Commissioner Henkel,
Aye.
Commissioner Ikeda. Aye. And Chair Miyasato.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion carries with 4 aye votes.
And I guess I'd like to follow up with my bifurcated motion that, and staff, you can point me in the right direction here, but I would like to direct the planning department to investigate the process of establishing a Native Hawaiian Health Study Review Board that would provide advice in the conduct of the study we just voted on and keep this commission informed as to the progress of the study. I would also ask respectfully that members of that Native Hawaiian Health Study Review Board be of Native Hawaiian ethnicity, if possible. And I'd like the department to get back to this commission and with an outline of how we go about establishing both the review board and the process in which they would advise this commission.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, the language of the claim speaks toward the commission itself establishing the board. So what you're asking is for us to provide you guidance in coming to that determination.
You're right, I didn't read that part of the claim, but that is what I'm asking, is that we would be establishing the Native Hawaiian Health Study Review Board and ask your Manawan assistance in directing us on how to do that.
Okay, do I have a second for this one?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hepulani, second by Commissioner Henkel. Any discussion on the motion? No. Call the roll.
Commissioner Helkulani,
Aye.
Commissioner Henkel,
Aye.
Commissioner Ikeda.
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion carries with 4 aye votes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Don't worry, but you can call me anything. Go ahead, Rob.